let's move on from that to like a more practical concern, which is you buy these things and then there's a bunch of like associated, especially like once you buy more than one. I think there's a lot of other things that collectors and enthusiasts end up doing in terms of like purchasing decisions that aren't watches themselves, but that end up being not an insignificant sum of money depending on how you do it. Tools, straps, service, warranty, repairs, those are the kinds of things I'm talking about, and sort of insurance, ancillary costs, or even maybe if you're so inclined, paying for a professional membership on WatchCharts to keep track of the collection of your value if that is something that matters to you. Um, there's all of these things that kind of are around the hobby and have more to do with the practical aspects of it. And I'm wondering if there's any interesting lessons that you've learned in that context that you want to talk about.
So, I would classify all of these as like hidden costs, right? They're not upfront, but that this is typically I feel it's a very big problem when it comes to collecting watches is the hidden costs, as like what you said, when you start collecting watches, you start off with one, you get impulsive, you start picking up a couple more, you go through paying your dues. Uh, Before you know it, you're 7 watches deep before you even know what pieces you like. And with these 7 pieces comes, like what you said, it comes repairs, servicing, and the third one, which I recently dented a relatively deep hole in my bank account, is a watch winder or watch box,
Right.
because having you don't want to have 10 watches sitting loose on your desk, or 10 watches in their differently shaped watch boxes sitting around on your table. You want to showcase them, you want to display them. And a watch winder will set you back, let's say anywhere from 500 to a few $1,000s. And I think
A nice winder.
exactly, and again, a winder's almost like a watch, Winders, when I look at winders, I went through 3 different watch boxes on the way to finally picking up what I would say is a forever winder, my current winder, and those weren't cheap. Those weren't cheap either. And, I think, again, it comes down to impulsiveness. It really comes down to not being impulsive, to to looking at your budget, understanding what you're looking for, and kind of, I would say it pays to be patient. If something's out of your reach at the moment, don't rush into buying an alternative. Save up and purchase it a little further down the line. And I think there's so many, these hidden costs is something that, as someone who's new to the hobby, someone who's just getting into watches, these are really things you just, it's not that you don't even consider, it's things you don't even know of. When I was first buying watches, like what I said, I never really bought watches brand new. I have that one watch, the Citizen ProMaster Aqualand. But when I started buying like watches on the secondary market, I was, I'd see a watch for sale, 30% under the market price, right, of these watches. I'll be like, wow, what a great deal. I'm new to watches. This looks great. Put in the bid. The watch comes, and you're like, it all looks great. It looks incredible. And eventually, a couple of days later, I find out it's running quick. It's running 5 to 10 minutes quick a day. And you're new to the hobby. You're wondering what to do. You bring it to a shop, and all of a sudden, you get a bill of $400. And now you just paid a significant premium for this watch. There are all these little costs, and when I first entered the hobby, who would have thought that papers and boxes could could be worth a few $100s? Who would have thought that counterfeits are so prevalent in the market as well? There are all these things, and these counterfeits, they don't even just they aren't even isolated to luxury watches like Rolexes. Oftentimes in Southeast Asia, which is where I lived for a lot of times, G-Shocks are the most commonly counterfeited. And like, I think that all these like technicalities and hidden costs to it that you don't really see coming into the hobby, and you kind of have to fall for one to learn from it. It's not. I think it's impossible to go through the watch collecting hobby without being a victim of one of these.
One or more, likely. I was thinking of straps. So, for a watch to be a strap monster, quote unquote, it must be a watch that has a lot of straps to consume. And nice straps, as we know, cost a lot of money. And if you start accumulating watches, then there is a reasonably high chance that you will also start accumulating straps. And because they will be nice watches, you will want to buy nice straps. And whatever level price point you convince yourself is a good price to quality ratio that makes you feel good about your decision, you will choose. But it will not mean that you have not, at the end of the day, spend hundreds of dollars, if not thousands, at some point on little shiny pieces of leather that spend most of their life either strewn about if you're not careful about that sort of thing, or maybe if you have a case for your straps, because that's when you're really far gone, when you have a case not just for your watches but for your straps. They pile up. And I think it's one of the things that I hadn't really considered when I started collecting, that unless I wanted to just be blasé about where my straps were and whether I could remember where all of them were kept and how many I had in all of the various sizes, that it was just okay to have them floating around. Like, but I wasn't okay with that. Because it was still a not insignificant sum of money. And so, you start trying to figure out storage solutions for straps. And then if you buy a strap for a watch that has a bracelet and you put it on the strap, then you have to figure out what to do with the bracelet. And then if you have multiple watches with multiple bracelets, then it becomes a thing. I mean, these are like annoying things that I am talking about that only really become a problem if you have a serious enough issue that you decide to fall in love watches deeply enough to commit yourself professionally to them, like we did. Maybe we are an extreme manifestation of the issue, but I would say that's definitely, like you said, one of the things that I certainly was like, nobody talks about it and nobody really gives you any sort of, I just like you, I have multiple storage cases that are just lying empty at this point because I don't like them and so I don't use them, or they're not, there's some other reason why my watches are sitting somewhere else and not in that case. And you're right. I think it really is like a hidden cost, because if I add up all of the money that I've spent on straps and storage solutions over the years and think about the opportunity cost of that, it's not Rolex money, but it's something money.